Hello, I'm Joe Grimm, and tonight we have Steve Frank returning. Steve is the Research and Development Director of Nature's Right, and Steve is going to come and tell us about some more exciting products that he's been working on that address some of the common but very troublesome health conditions that many of us face. Welcome, Steve.
Hi, Joe.
Great to see you again, Steve.
Thanks for having me. I brought you a little something.
Oh, what did you bring for us tonight?
Well, that's rash relief.
Rash relief, great for eczema, not to be confused with excellent.
That's correct. It's good for a number of different rash conditions, and eczema, I think, is pretty prevalent, one of those. There's a lot of folks out there that are just frustrated because the cortisone creams that they're used to using don't work, and are dangerous in some cases.
Well, tell us about the general subject of rashes and tell us about how eczema relates to rashes.
Okay, well, I guess the place to begin there is oftentimes even dermatologists confuse psoriasis and eczema. Psoriasis is something totally different. It's considered an autoimmune disease, it's hereditary, and it's a different skin condition than eczema or dermatitis or your common everyday rash. So this is designed really for eczema or the common dermatitis that you find. And in that case, what you're talking about is an interesting situation. If you look up eczema, they'll say it's inflammation of the skin caused by an unknown pathogen. Well, that's not very helpful. The reason it says that is because there are lots of different causes. There are a lot of things that can cause a rash. So it's one of those difficult things where if you don't know what caused the rash, it's hard to know what will fix it. And that was actually the biggest challenge in designing that product, is to come up with a rash relief that would work on as broad a range of different rashes as we could. Without knowing the cause of each of those, you had to make something that would handle almost anything.
In your test so far, how has it worked out?
It's worked out amazingly well. Of course, nothing works for everyone, and not all cases of dermatitis or rash are really addressed by getting rid of fungus and bacteria. Some of them are allergic reactions. Some of them are sheer chemical reactions. You work with chemicals a lot, you can get a rash.
Okay.
But for the rashes that are true eczema or are related to opportunistic pathogens that are on your skin, this works great. We've seen remission in a week or a week and a half of some conditions of eczema that have been present for years, not responsive to the cortisones and the steroids.
Some of these topical cortisone treatments really just get in and address the inflammation.
That's right. Sometimes that works because it'll break a cycle, an inflammation cycle that's actually enabling or to the advantage of the pathogens. And so your own immune system can come in and clean up better if you break that inflammation cycle. So it's not to say that they don't work at all. They do. They do work on some people. But the long-term effects are they can thin your skin. And there's significant concern that they can actually cause or facilitate some skin cancers. So people are much more concerned nowadays about using them on children and on themselves.
Well, in the case of, say, untreated eczema, how will this usually run its course in an otherwise healthy person?
A lot of people have what's called recurring eczema, where they'll have a particular patch or spot where if they get nervous or aggravated or during the winter time, it'll flare up and it'll just be there, and they'll put cortisones on it to keep it under control, and it'll get back under control for a while, and then come back. And we've seen remission of those patches with this. Actually a solution to the problem, which is kind of nice.
Well, how long is a typical course of treatment using your rash relief?
I've seen some rashes that will resist for only about a week before smoothing out and succumbing. And I've seen some that took 3 or 4 weeks. So 1 to 4 weeks, I guess, is what you'd say is typically.
And how often do you have to apply it?
A couple times a day.
Oh,
You
okay.
usually just wash off the old stuff, put the new stuff on. It's not something you have to put on very often. Typically, you get a reminder of it's time to put it back on again because it'll start itching again or start hurting again
Okay.
because the analgesics and the nerve quelling constituents from the herbs have been flushed out of the region, and it's time to renew. I can only be so confident because I've worked with it for so many years and seen so many difficult cases clear up. And I have a lot of confidence in the product. We have some new ingredients and some new improvements. Every year it seems like it gets better. And the formulation that we're offering now is really just top notch. First, address the symptoms. Okay, is you have to treat the symptoms of the person that they aren't interested in the product. Then you want to fix the underlying cause. And thirdly, of course, you want to help the body to heal itself. So in this particular product, what we've done is gathered some constituents that will be antimicrobial. They'll kill bacteria, fungus, and virus. So we have humic acid, poke, and chaparral, bloodroot. All of those are good at stopping these invaders. The next thing that you want to do is address the issue of pain and the overactive nerves that are being irritated and causing that itching feeling. And so there we've got calendula to settle down the nerves. And we've got the St. John's wort and the chickweed. For pain, we've got arnica and willow. Those are really good analgesics. And finally, in order to help the skin repair itself, we've got tropical oils and aloe vera and comfrey. Comfrey is what you'd call a cell proliferator. It accelerates the rate at which replacement cells are made. And so what you want to do in order to keep the problem from persisting is to get a good skin barrier. You want to replace those skin cells faster than the bacteria and fungus are eating them up so that you can get a good sound barrier again.
Apparently you've accomplished it using an entirely herbal solution as opposed to some kind of a pharmaceutical solution.
Well, that's true. You know, often pharmaceuticals are derivatives of herbs or things found in nature. And all that we're doing is providing them to the region in their original grouping of constituents. We try not to break what Mother Nature has provided us with. And yes, this does tend to be or seem to be, a good combination. It's one that's evolved quite a bit over the years because it's been challenging. But I can tell you from the results that I've seen, I'm quite satisfied with it. Our customers are quite satisfied with it.
Given that children are often sufferers of rashes of various kinds, is this appropriate for use on children, and if so, how young?
Yeah, it is. I've seen it used on kids as young as 6 months old. And I haven't seen any children that were younger than that had eczema, so I don't really know. And there don't seem to be any complications or complaints. You know, it being primarily a topical, if you put it on and it did seem to irritate the situation or make it worse, you can always wash it off. So there's very little harm in simply trying it.
So it sounds like you have, in fact, created an herbal solution to the eczema problem, the common eczema problem.
Indeed, for a lot of people, it brings a lot of good support and help. It's worked out very well in our clinical studies. We have some case histories where you can see some pretty ugly-looking rashes disappear. You have nothing to lose by trying it. Anybody that's got a persistent rash, give it a try. It works more often than it doesn't.
It almost makes me want to go out and do something that will cause me to get a rash. So
Now, don't
give
do
it a
anything
shot.
rash.
Okay, we'll avoid rash behavior.
Okay.
Steve, this has been most enlightening. Thank you for joining us today with rash relief. It sounds like you've come up with another winner here and another very elegant solution to a common problem that bedevils an awful lot of folks, and it's brilliant.